Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today I'm looking at a book from Sweet and Maxwell, Thomson, Reuters, and it's one of a series of books that they've published. This one is on the law of general average and the YORK-ANTWERP rules, now in a 15th edition, and it's known to many as Lowndes and Rudolf. It's this book here. We'll have a look at it in a moment. As I said, it's the 15th edition which has now come out, and it's been edited by a number of people. R. Cornah, RCG Sarll and JB Shead. Now, we've given it a title for our book review, Since 1873, the Essential Reference for Shipping Lawyers, now in a new 15th edition from Sweet and Maxwell. Now, let's have a look at it. It's part of the British shipping laws here. There's the front of the book there. And then you can see the spine, British Shipping Laws Library, and then all the various stuff. There's nothing on the back. It's a heavy hardback book, and it runs very much in the style of Sweet and Maxwell. It runs very much to the standards that we've got, and you can see here with the house style it is paragraph numbering for the indexing at the back, and it's a very detailed index, which is very helpful. It runs through fairly substantially. There's a legal taxonomy mentioned at the back to tell you how to use the actual index. And then at the front, we've got the actual front page there. You can see the names of the people who are involved. Then you've got the blurb, and then you've got the basic information about the previous editions. The first one appearing, as I said, in 1873 by Richard Lowndes. And then it's sort of run through. And then there's a preface, of course, to this current edition. Always worth reading because it tells you all of the changes that have taken place. And that's from the three authors. Then you've got the table of contents. And you can see they run through fairly substantially the various sections. The historic introduction. Then they're running straight into the information specific to the new edition. And of course, as you can see, a lot of rules are covered here. You just run through them and get to the end, and then there are some appendices at the back, and that covers the YORK-ANTWERP rules and various other rules to go with those particular rules, including the Glasgow resolutions and of course rules of practice. Then you've got the table of cases. Again, quite a large number of cases involved. And then after that, let's get to the end of the table of cases, some statutes, not very many, but some statutes are included. Then you get into the book itself. Section 1 starts the historical introduction, basically, to the subject matter, and you can see what you've got. You've got a paragraph numbering at the sides and footnoting, so that's how you find everything. And basically, they go all the way back to the Rhodians. That's Rhodes, many years ago. And of course, just running it through, you can see I'm in the middle of the book here. English law and practice, expenses at port of refuge, etc. And there we go, all the way through. And again, you can see the paragraph numbering and the footnotes. So there it is. The book runs to something approaching 800 odd pages. Just put it back there. Now, what do we say about the book? Well, we say this. Even if you're not a specialist in shipping law, you must admit that it never ceases to fascinate, combining as it does complexity, practicality, and a couple of millennia of history as well, which of course I alluded to right at the beginning there. The editors have been meticulous throughout in making sure that the intricacies of the subject matter are understood. The book, of course, as I said, has been published by Sweet and Maxwell, part of Thomson Reuters. So Lowndes and Rudolf, as it's known, now emerges in a new edition, the 15th, since the first edition came out in 1873 from Richard Lowndes. And as a work of reference for practitioners, and indeed all who are involved in shipping law, because this is part of the shipping law library, this book truly excels. It incorporates the developments that have taken place since the publication of the previous edition in 2013. So there hasn't been that much of a gap between the two editions. And of course, most importantly, it reflects the changes that have led to the production of the 2016 rules, the fortunate result of a consensus, so to speak, by the International Union of Marine Insurance and the International Chamber of Shipping and BIMCO. And the special expertise of the editorial team is of note and is impressive. Cornah, who has presided over the previous two editions, and that's in 2008 and 2013, is the Honorary Fellow of the Association of Average Adjusters and titular member of the Comite Maritime International, CIM, noted as the custodian of the YORK-ANTWERP rules, which are the rules which basically govern what we're talking about here. Sarll is a barrister at Middle Temple, and Shead is a senior associate of the Association of Average Adjusters. So you have very specific expertise here. Commendably, but not surprisingly then, the book offers both global and historical perspectives on shipping law, informing us from the outset that the, quote, the first known statement of the law of general average is a fragment of ancient Greek legislation which forms the text from a chapter in the Digest of Justinian. And you see, of course, it goes back a very long way, therefore. And it says, and I mentioned it right at the beginning in the historical introduction, the Rhodian law decrees, said this document, that if I order to lighten a ship, merchandise has to be thrown overboard. That which has been given for all should be replaced by the contribution of all. Rhodes was, of course, a maritime state, and we are reminded and regarded as also known as the mistress of the sea. So any confusion here about the meaning and significance of key terms like general average is dealt with by the clarity of the commentary and the illustrative figured examples. Also, I think very helpful is the comprehensive coverage of recent developments in general average cases, including the Longchamp and the references to CMI guidelines, which were agreed at the 2016 CMI conference in New York. And these, of course, have proved useful, say the editors, in explaining general average and the collection of commercial interests involved in a major casualty, because that's really what this is about. So fortunately for practitioners, this definitive work of reference contains a wealth of research resources, including extensive tables of cases and statutes, detailed footnoting, and 5 appendices. And I mentioned them earlier, right at the back. Appendix 4, for instance, contains key documents, including the following: the Lloyd's Average Bond, the Lloyd's Standard Form of Salvage Agreement, and so forth. And then in Annex 5, you'll find the CMI guidelines relating to general average. So you should have everything that you want at your fingertips. And in conclusion, let me say that throughout its long and distinguished publishing history, this classic text has been an essential reference for shipping lawyers and continues to be so, in our opinion. Indeed, any lawyer interested in this field will regard this latest edition of Lowndes and Rudolf as a must-have purchase. And the date of publication is cited at 2018, effectively in the summer-autumn. I haven't got a specific date. Let's just have a look at this again. There it is. That's the front and the spine, British Shipping Library. Just opening it in the middle. We're looking here at expenses at port of refuge, which I talked about earlier. And this is about construction. You can see again the paragraph numbering and the footnotes at the sides. We go to the back later on. Provision of funds, English law and background. Again, English law plays a very substantial part here because we are, of course, a maritime, basically a maritime country. Again, we've got quite a large amount of information. The modern English law is stated at the back in chapter 40. All in all, a very good book. Thank you very much indeed to Sweet and Maxwell and the British Shipping Laws Library for continuing to publish these important books for us. We're very grateful for the expertise. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.